Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Mind Your Fucking Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. Good morning. How are you?
You're looking good.
I'm rocking the MYPB
real
hat
good.
today. Yeah, it's warm, keeps me toasty. Coming to you as always from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Fucking Business podcast, brought to you, of course, by the Bamboozled Project. You can see I'm actually rocking, if you're following on camera today, rocking some gear from the Bamboozled Project that they created for us on the MYPB hats that they sell, which is extraordinarily warm and comfortable. This is episode number 65, Sesenta y Cinco on the Spanish dial. So we welcome all Spanish listeners to the show. You can send your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com. We're going to take some questions. We focused on them a lot last week.
Yeah.
And then I said, we didn't really promote it as much, but we got many more questions here today.
Absolutely.
That just came in. So
Q&A.
we're going to answer some Ranger questions on the second half of the show. We're going to start with football today, actually. And if you're listening to us or watching us, however you may get your MYPB fix, chances are you're doing it on the platform of Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. So one of the many ways you can find us.
Yes, and we are live, so we want to remind you guys that if you put a question, comment, or concern in the comment section, we can bring it up live and answer it today, just like Finn did. He says, nice.
The viewer likes the hat.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
We will be promoting on the Instagram page probably later today. We're going to put something up with a link to get all your MYPB gear, whether you're into the shirts. There's two different designs, actually, you'll see up there, and the hats are different as well. So you can pick whatever's good for you, and then, of course, use the MYPB promo code, because look at that. I mean, we don't even rehearse these things, Dougie Sticks. If you're using the MYPB promo code on the site, you're saving a whopping 25%. I mean, we're not giving you something to save $2 or 5%. You're literally saving a quarter of your purchase price.
Trying to hook you up with some gear, some swag.
Yes, MYPB swag. We appreciate it. And as I said, this hat is ridiculously comfortable I think I'm going to be sweating by a minute, because it is kind of hot in here as it is. I didn't realize the heat was turned up today here.
It actually works today.
Yeah, it does. So, well, we hope you all had a good Super Bowl. Super Bowl Sunday is, I said this last week a little bit, and you think about it now after the fact, and it's true. There is such an enormous lead up. There is no sporting event in the entire year, single sporting event, that has as much hype as Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
And then when it's over, all of a sudden you are left with a depression to an extent and a big hole to fill as you realize that your Sundays now are going to be different for the next 6 months. You have no football at all. And you go from getting so hyped up for a game and parties and food and every boxes and colors of Gatorade, Late Night Louie, which we'll talk about in a minute, to not having it. So for our show, the landscape of our show, Mind Your Fucking Business, it's going to change. We'll talk football today. Paul Farrington will be with us in a minute. I do see him in the virtual waiting room that we have. But the landscape of our show will change. So if you are a listener, and I know a lot of our listeners are, hockey people, you're going to be happy because football will kind of go away. We'll amp up the Ranger coverage as we get into the second half of the season, as well as the playoffs to come. And we will all miss football. So how was your Super Bowl before we get to Paul?
It was good. I think the playoffs as a whole this year were very entertaining. I think, definitely well done by everyone involved. I think we should create a sport, Jeff, that, when football ends,
it's
starts up. Sundays. We put something in the Sunday slot.
Well, we do. You know what? You will feel it. I promise you. This Sunday, with whatever your plans are out there, whether it's with your family, your kids, your parent, whatever you're doing, you will notice that your Sundays will feel different because you're not checking scores. You're not looking at fantasy. You're not looking at your bets or whatever. It will be different. Speaking of bets, I think I need to throw out a kind of congratulations or kind of an amazement of what happened last week. We talked last week on the show about Super Bowl bets, and Late Night Louie, who's been on the show, we love Late Night Louie. He's one of the more entertaining guests.
Nice.
I said last week on the program to people that Late Night Louie had told me there were two bets that he loved, and he was so enthusiastic about it. It wasn't like he seemed confident in it. He seemed like it was a sure thing, which had me a little worried. But the two things that he said One was the over under on the national anthem, and we looked up,
Yeah.
the singer who sung it, the guy, Mickey, whatever it was.
Gaiden.
Yeah,
Mickey Gaiden. Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Yes, that was it. And the over under was 1:35. And Late Night Louie was convinced it was over, and it ended up being a minute 52. So we can give him credit for that because over unders are 50-50 bets, right? Still impressive. Money counts. I don't care how we get it, it counts, right? So the other bet that he loved, which I thought was the most bizarre thing ever, was that he was convinced it was going to be blue Gatorade. Because you can on DraftKings bet on colors of Gatorade. Now, blue Gatorade on DraftKings on Sunday before the game was plus 375. So we're not talking like a 50-50 shot here. It's like there's going to be a really good payout. You bet $10, you win $37.50 if it's blue. You know what? Late Night Louie, the dude was super confident in it. What do I do? What do other people do where I was? And I'm telling people, Late Night Louie is convinced it's blue. Take a chance.
An inside source.
Take a chance. The Super Bowl ends, and now you're waiting to see, the camera coverage. And they for literally, it happened in a split second. They put the camera on the guy dumping the Gatorade. It's blue.
Yeah.
The dude's amazing.
I mean, if you think the Rams are going to win, you probably have a good chance it's going to be blue Gatorade. And if you thought the Bengals would win, maybe there's a good chance it's orange.
Yeah, I mean, so we got to give props to Late Night Louie because he had these two random bets that he was super into and super confident and got them both right. So we hope you took Late Night Louie's advice as we talked about it last week. So let's bring in Paul Farrington now. Who's going to talk a little football with us. This is one of our NFL insiders. So little Paul. How are you, Paul?
Good. How about you guys?
We are good. How was your
Love the merch. It looks awesome.
On the hat. Yeah. You know what? And I said that the hat is so warm that my wife actually has been stealing it from me because she's always cold. It's an amazing hat. Like, even if it didn't say MY Mind Your Fucking Business on it, I recommend it just to keep you warm.
It just looks great. Yeah. Yeah. It just looks comfortable.
It's good stuff. So Paul has been with us every step of the way in the football season.
Yeah.
And now, we come to this point, as I talked about a minute ago, I think you heard me, Paul, is that it's just depression because Sundays now we don't have football. It's going to be a little bit different out here, especially for me and you. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but let's start here with the Super Bowl. I thought that the theme that we've had the last couple of weeks kept true, which we thought was the game would be close. We've had some really good playoff games. I wasn't as into the game, and maybe that's because we had other things going on. I thought it was a good game. I'm happy for Matt Stafford. You feel for the guy. He's been in Detroit. I know you like the Vikings, so you're familiar with the NFC North and how bad Detroit has been. Obviously, his wife's cancer struggle has been a story, so you have to be happy for Matt Stafford. What was your thought overall on the Super Bowl?
After OBJ went down in was it the second quarter when he got hurt? I thought the Rams couldn't move the ball for a long time. Midway through the third quarter, my thought was, as a Bengals fan, I am really confident right now. It almost seemed too good to be true because you can't ask for much more if you're Cincinnati. You go through this whole gauntlet in the AFC, you survive game after game, and you have a 7-point lead in the third quarter. With I think Higbee was out, Odell was out, Stafford couldn't really do too much. You were getting to him. It just seemed like a golden opportunity, and I mean, that drive at the end of the game, that's his career-defining moment right there. That's one of the best drives probably in Super Bowl history.
And the amazing thing about that, and that's a great lead into one of my questions for you, was, you take out, Odell's out of the game, Higbee's out of the game. They didn't really establish the run. They didn't get the run going on. And you really, at that point, when they're down, you kind of said to yourself, I would think, if you thought about it at that moment, if they're going to come back, it's got to be Cooper Kupp, right? And you would think the Bengals would know that. And yet they couldn't stop Cooper Kupp, which has been consistent all year as he finished the season leading receptions, leading receiving yards, leading receiving TDs. Cooper Kupp has come this year, I don't want to say out of nowhere because he's been a top receiver, but he's got to now. I mean, I would think going into next year, he's the number one receiver on fantasy boards, for example, right?
He's got to be. It reminded me, do you guys remember back in week 3 when the Packers played the 49ers and Rodgers got the ball with about a minute left in his own end of the field? And you're saying, all right, just don't let Devontae Adams win the game. It's boom, boom, boom. 3 passes to Devontae, game-winning field goal for Mason Crosby. It felt similar to that, where it's just double him. Do anything you can. Triple him. Do not let Cooper Kupp be the reason that you lose the Super Bowl. Make someone else win. Make Ben Skoranek, a Notre Dame graduate. Make Ben Skoranek win the game. because I don't know
Right.
if he will. Cooper Kupp will.
Yeah, and it's amazing. So, I mean, Cooper Kupp, again, finishing off really a storybook season, finishing the league and leading statistical categories in every wide receiver category.
Crazy.
For him to be the focal point of that drive, when the Bengals defense knew that was going to happen and they still couldn't stop him, we give credit to him. So, let's move on to some offseason stuff. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Oh, boy.
The AFC, I was thinking this last night, right? The AFC and the NFC, we've talked about throughout the playoffs that both conferences were pretty deep, right? Obviously lower seeds got into the Super Bowl from each conference. But now going forward, if I look at this, the NFC next year, right? The 1 seed was the Green Bay Packers. We don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. And a lot of people aren't talking about it. Devontae Adams is also a free agent. So you have the potential with the number 1 seed could lose their quarterback and their top receiver. So they're not going to be the number 1 seed. The number 2 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost their quarterback, Tom Brady, who retired. Chris Godwin also not being talked about as a free agent. They could look a lot different. So the NFC, you want to tell me you're buying the Cowboys? I'm not buying them with the struggles they've had. The Rams, I think, have a good chance to make it back and come out again, right?
Yeah, I think the Rams have to be the favorite, and keep your eye on San Francisco because Tom Brady doesn't sound like a retired man right now. He doesn't sound like someone who's ready to walk away just yet. Just from everything that's going on, I'm not so sure that he won't be back.
Yeah, I'm not either. So I think the NFC is going to be wide open. The AFC, on the other hand, is going to be brutal.
Gauntlet.
Watch this.
Total
right?
gauntlet.
So the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans. Now, whether you buy the Titans or not that they got to the 1 seed, here's the thing. They got to the 1 seed without their best player half the season, Derrick Henry. So he's coming back. The number 2 seed Chiefs, they're going to be back. The number 3 seed Buffalo Bills, who you and I were big on, they were our pick to come out of the AFC, are certainly going to be right back in the mix. You have the Bengals as well. The AFC next year is going to be loaded that come playoff time, if we fast forward to January 2023, when the AFC playoffs start, there's going to be depth all over this conference next year.
Yeah, the NFC feels a little more top heavy, especially next year. It'll be probably 2 or 3 teams going for it. But in the AFC, you're right. Look at the quarterbacks too. Burrow, Herbert, Lamar, Mahomes. We've said this before. Josh Allen. It's just going to be really tough to get out. And that's why I've been saying to Bengals fans, you might not get back to a Super Bowl within the next 5, 8, 10 years. It's going to be a hard conference for a long time.
And that's the problem. If I'm a Bengals fan, you're excited you got there. Obviously, you lost and you want to win the game and all that stuff. And Mike Francesa always said for years when he had his show that the hardest game to lose, the most deflating, is the Super Bowl. It's going to be hard for them to get back because the conference is so good. So, yeah. All right. So free agent things. We have Devontae Adams as a free agent. Chris Godwin, we talked about. Von Miller from the Rams as a free agent. Also from the Rams, Odell Beckham Jr. What does your gut tell you? The real domino that's got to fall here, because Devontae Adams falls in this category as well, is Aaron Rodgers. Is Aaron Rodgers playing in Green Bay next season?
Gosh, I hope not. I really hope not. And it seems that most people think he's going to go to Denver at the moment. I know there's the whole Titans rumor. I would still put my money on Green Bay at the moment, just because it's not that he has terrible relationships there right now. People think the relationships are horrible, but him and LaFleur get along okay. It's more of, with upper management in Green Bay, but a lot of that seems to be subsiding right now, at least publicly. So I think in all likelihood, he comes back to Green Bay. It's very close, like 60-40, but I would put my money on Green Bay right now. If he's gone, though, if he leaves, Devontae Adams is probably gone as well.
Yes, I think that's a tag team. Either they're both coming back or they're both gone. And if they're both gone, Green Bay is not going to be the one.
Oh, how great would that be? I mean, that would be unbelievable.
Well, we know you're a Vikings fan, so for you would like it. All right, last question before we let you go into the offseason abyss, and then we'll talk to you, I'm sure, in the offseason. Okay, ready? I'm going to put you on the spot. It's not fair to do this, but we're going to roll the tape next year and look back at today, which is February 16th, 2022. Ready?
Yeah.
Who is playing in the Super Bowl next year?
Super Bowl next year?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to... Gosh, the Chiefs just feels like a cop-out answer. Is that a cop-out answer?
No, look, I want you to pick who you. I don't care if it's a cop out answer. I want you to pick who you think is going to be back.
All right, in the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City gets there, and I think they're playing against. I'm not going to pick the Vikings. I'm not going to publicly pick the Vikings here. I think they're going against LA. I think LA gets back there. They're
So
the best team right now.
Rams and Chiefs. Dougie Six is looking at me. You want me to
I
make a
want
pick?
you to make a pick too.
Well, I'm gonna. You know what? Paul and I were big on the Bills, so I'm gonna say eventually it's gotta be the Bills. They're gonna be back. I'm gonna say the Bills out of the AFC, and out of the NFC, I am going to say the 49ers. And I'm gonna throw a little
Wow.
wild card in here with
It's a
my
good pick.
49ers pick. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna pick the 49ers and the Bills, which actually was a Super Bowl back, I believe, in the early 90s. They met in the Super Bowl. We obviously know the Bills would have lost that, but
Mhm.
I think there is some rumors out there. Now I've heard this. Now I don't know if this is true, and Paul from you can let us know if he's heard this.
Yes.
That Brady would love to go. He doesn't want to play in Tampa anymore, which is his whole retirement thing.
Yeah.
And San Francisco is where he's from, and they would
Wow.
find a way somehow to do like a sign and trade and send Garoppolo to Tampa. If Brady somehow went to San Francisco, I would like that pick even more. But I'm still sticking with the 49ers and the Bills. What are you thinking next season?
So real quick before my picks, he technically retired. He pulled a Gronk where like he's retired, so they don't have to trade him, right?
I don't
They
know.
do. They do. If he
Yeah,
comes
I think
back,
they
he's still
own the
under
rights. He comes
contract.
back,
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he's still on the rights.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I like both of your picks, but I have a little twist on each one. I think the Bills against the Rams. I think
Okay.
that's going to be your Super Bowl next year.
Nice.
So we will roll this tape back next year, Paul, when you're back with us in football season, and we will come back and see if either of us or any of us got it right.
$5 a person. You want to put a little pot on this?
We could. We'll see.
I'll throw 5.
We should see. We should have gotten late night Louis pick, but
Yeah.
well, Paul, I appreciate you being on all season. You've been a rock star guest. Yes, go ahead.
So
Doug.
sorry to cut you off, but this is kind of big news, and it has to do with this Vikings. The Vikings are looking for the offensive coordinator from the Rams. Did you hear about this?
I did. I think
Paul,
that
I think we're introducing him tomorrow. Yeah. Yep.
Tomorrow, yes.
Well, what do you think about that? Before we
I'm
let you
excited.
go.
I'm excited for it because I know Harbaugh was a big name, and I'd be lying if I say I didn't buy into the hype a little bit. But O'Connell's going to be one of those guys, part of that LaFleur, McVay, Shanahan coaching style, those young guys. And look, would I be surprised at all if this blew up in our faces within the next 9 months? Not at all. But I'm okay with giving a young guy a shot, especially coming off a Super Bowl.
Well, we appreciate it, and we always tell people check out the Paul Farrington show. It's a good show. We watch it. We subscribe to it. We like it. So hopefully we'll tune in the off season. And there is bound to be at some point in the off season some news, right? When Aaron Rodgers decided where he's going, the draft. Both New York teams are so bad that they have two picks in the top 10 each team. So the draft will be a big topic in New York here. We'll have you back for that.
Can't wait for the draft.
We won't be able to wait to see you again until August. So come back and visit us again. And thanks for everything, Paul.
Will do, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Paul. That is Paul Farrington from the Paul Farrington Show.
Yeah.
Really, this year, I have to say, and he became very requested from people that have watched the show, now And that was part of why Paul's been on so much, is people have given us positive feedback.
Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want. So, well, now, what did you do? Did you end up having a Super Bowl party?
No. Agent fell asleep. I pretty much watched it by myself.
I was gonna say, Jess and I didn't get an invite, so
Yeah, there was no party. We didn't do a party, but I had fun by myself watching the game. That was fine, very chill evening. I enjoyed the game. No complaints.
There you
Don't
go.
feel bad about it.
And how did you do? Most importantly, because I know how your mind works. How did you do
Yes.
betting? Were you okay?
I lost everything. I lost every bet I made.
Mm.
But see, I'm all about the good game. So I didn't want to make a bet on who was going to win or the spread, because I didn't want to be rooting for a certain team. I thought the Rams were going to win, but I like the underdog aspect. So I didn't want to. I wanted to root for a good game, not be like biased. But I made stupid bets like Odell to score the first 2 touchdowns was plus 8,000. So like $5 bet would have got me $400.
And you hit the first half of it. You just didn't hit
Yeah.
the second half when
Well,
he
if
tore
he
his
didn't get
ACL.
injured, I would have been fine.
He tore his ACL. You know what? Betting always gets you somehow.
So I made a couple prop bets, but nothing hit.
So you are one of these people now that in hindsight look back and wish you listened a week ago to me when I said what Late Night Louis said, because you would be
True.
you'd be
I
on
should
a
have
boat
bet
right
the
now.
Gatorade. Yeah, I should have bet the Gatorade. If I bet I believe if I bet the Rams to win, still would have lost. I mean, the spread, I still would have lost. They won by what, 3-2?
Right. The spread was 4.5.
Yeah. So like, even if I bet the Rams, I would have lost.
Well, there you go. You
Yeah.
saved some money there.
There you go.
So that's a wrap on the football content of our program. And again, it's depressing because I think that we've had football and weekly picks and all that stuff on this show since August. And now for
Yeah.
it to be gone, content may change a little bit. And thankfully for hockey fans who watch us, right?
Mhm.
We're rolling into the second half of the season and playoffs because we're going to need something, like I mentioned earlier, to carry us through the lack of football. So before we get to the New York Rangers, who were back in action last night in a very interesting way, I want to throw out there the Olympics.
Yeah.
This Winter Olympics, there have been nobody is into them. Normally, my wife is watching figure skating. Normally, that's all over NBC. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
They don't even know about it. However, I'm going to give you something. We all know that the NHL players are not playing at the Olympics in the men's game, right? So if you want to tune in, if it gets you excited, the men's game, not seeing the NHL players represent their country, that's fine. It's still good quality hockey.
Yeah.
However, the women's hockey is awesome. USA and Canada hate each other. They are always the two best teams in women's hockey. They play tonight at 11:10 Eastern time, which is way past my bedtime. But if you are up or you listen to us from the West Coast or somewhere else, one of the few people that listen to us out of the country I saw, where the time zones are different, tune in at 11:10 tonight. I will guarantee you the intensity of this women's gold medal match tonight will be awesome.
Nice.
So tune in
the gold medal match.
It's the gold medal match,
Wow.
and the U.S. women in Canada and the U.S. and the women from Canada hate each other.
So you're gonna see some fights too.
Well, I don't know about that, but they literally go at it. It'll be physical. It's an awesome game.
Nice.
So tune in tonight at 11:10. I believe NBC is carrying it live. I'm sure you could Google where to find it live, but I'm pretty sure something like this will be live.
Yeah.
And we wish all good wishes to the American team.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not cheering for Canada.
Yeah.
So, we had a Canadian hockey player on last year, Curtis Gabriel, if you remember, from the Devils. He's from Canada, so he would disagree with the pick. So, all right, shifting gears to the New York Rangers. So last night, we talked about last week. Now, so people sent in questions last week. We're gonna have some questions. We're gonna have a guest in a minute actually to talk some Ranger hockey, and he's gonna help me with some questions. But so the Rangers get started last night. Now, total full disclosure, I missed most of the game. I had a hockey game in the league I play in, the adult league I play in, so I didn't see the majority of it. I watched some of it this morning. I was a little mortified when I looked at the score like an hour in, and they were losing at the first intermission, and I believe they had 2 shots on goal. So that's going to happen. The team's been off for 2 weeks. It seemed to me, from what I've heard and what I read and the little bit I watched this morning, that they did wake up a little bit more throughout the game. They had some chances in the third period. They certainly had a chance in overtime, and they ended up winning in a 9-round shootout. So if you're into the bonus hockey of a shootout, you would have been excited last night when defenseman Keandre Miller in the bottom of round number 9 won it for the New York Rangers. So they are back in action. Again, they have these COVID makeup stuff that they're slated for this week. They'll be home at the Garden tomorrow night against the Red Wings, and then they will travel up to Ottawa to make up a game that was canceled for COVID. Actually, that was back in November that was canceled. So, and then they will be back to their regular schedule next Thursday when they bring back Tom Wilson and the Washington Capitals to Madison Square Garden in what should be a very, very entertaining game, as it always is with Tom Wilson and the Caps. So let's see if we can bring in our guest here, and I'll give him an intro once we get him in here. Go ahead. You can bring him in. This is Dennis Jelcik. Now, Dennis, how are you? Can you hear us okay?
I'm doing well, Jeff. I can hear you well. Thank you.
Okay. How long? So here was my question for you right off the dot, part of your intro. How long have you had Ranger tickets?
2006.
Okay, 2006. So you are longer than me. My wife and I got tickets. I believe we started in 2008. So when the Tom Rennie era started, we waited 2 years to make sure it was worth our investment. So you've been a fan, though, a lot longer, and I do consider you a knowledgeable fan. Obviously, with your backdrop is perfect for that. So I'm going to have you walk through some viewer-submitted questions for me.
Okay, I'm ready.
Full disclosure, as I always am full disclosure on the show, Dennis has no idea what the questions are. So, it's not like he's had a chance to rehearse them.
We never rehearse anything.
And I have to say, also, I didn't check the mailbox until about 20 minutes before the show in the last couple of days, and there were more questions. So there's some questions on here.
Wow.
I don't really know the answer to either. So we're going to run through this together. All right, here we go, Dennis. First question. Capo Caco is out another month. Should we be concerned that this is more than just a basic injury, or should we be more concerned?
We should be concerned. He's a top 6 forward that's not in the lineup that they need right now. They need a little bit more punch, and he gives them that, although some people are skeptical on him, as have I been public about it, as everybody knows and sees. They definitely need him in the lineup, though, and the injury could be a little bit more than a month from what I understand.
Yeah, all right. So the most popular question I've been getting over the last month or two, speaking of Capo Caco, is not the injury, but the long term. Is Caco Caco going to be what we all thought he was going to be and what he was billed to be, the next coming of Moses, as I like to call him? Are you concerned that Capo Caco is not going to be who everybody thought he was going to be?
Here's the problem I have with that statement. What does everybody think he's expected to be? Do they expect Sidney Crosby? Do they expect Wayne Gretzky? What do they expect? Do they expect a top 6 forward, a guy that's a number 2 pick, could have been number 1? What do they expect? I expect a forward that's going to score 20 to 25 goals a season for the rest of his career, go to the net hard, and give us the skill that we need. That's what I expect.
Now, are you confident from what you've seen from a skill set in his first 3 years that is achievable?
He's improved since changes in the organization, coaching-wise especially, and I like where he's at until he got injured recently. Are some of the downfalls recently because of his injury? Could be. I'm not worried just yet. I'd like for him to finish this season and next season before I completely give up on him and call him a Manny Malhotra or many other names we've had in the past.
Got it. All right, here's a good question for you. And this was one that came in this week, and I think you are actually an expert to answer this. You've coached hockey before. You've coached multiple levels. You've coached high school. You've coached plenty of hockey in your career. How much of the Rangers' credit belongs to Gerard Gallant, and is he making that much of a difference? And if so, should he be a shoe-in for the Jack Adams Award, which is the Coach of the Year?
That's a loaded question, but we'll start with change in atmosphere around the team. From what you see, there's more excitement level. I'm not sure if David Quinn was to blame. I think he was put in a position not to succeed and not given the proper tools. I will say in the chances that he did have proper tools that he didn't make well of them. I'll put it to you that way. Gerard Gallant brought in a different experience from what we read and understand. He gives them their time. He gives them their leisure. He gives them all their private time, and it makes the atmosphere light. And I think that changed the atmosphere around the team, along with big acquisitions in the offseason. I mean, Ryan Reeves immediately brings a different level to your team of protection and hard level skill and grit. So that changes everything. So that also helps a coach coming in, along with him knowing this player going into it. That's big. And other signings as well. The Goudreau signing helps with Stanley Cup experience. There's a different vibe, and you see it from the minute they take the ice. And Gerard Gallant and his staff has a lot to do with that, because I'm sure they came in and said, listen, whatever's been going on has been going on. We're going to change it here. Let's make it light. And from what I see in every press conference that I watch pregame and postgame, because I like to watch him, he talks and he never downplays his team. He never lets a lot get out. And I'm sure that they enjoy that and respect that. And that's a big thing for a coach, to be respected by the players and the players to respect him and him, the team as well. And coming into a team that didn't succeed to the level they were expected to for the last 2 years under Quinn, and the advancement of this rebuild wasn't coming as fast. I think it's exploded, and Gallant right now is just riding the wave, in my opinion.
Okay. Should he be up there for the Coach of the Year talk around the league?
100%. I'd like to wait 30 more games and see where it goes. Again, you're not graded on half a season, you're graded on your entire season. And that's irrelevant to where they go in the Stanley Cup playoffs if they were to get in. I think it's a regular season, see where it goes and see what the advancement is. They make it to the Stanley Cup final, or us Ranger fans, saying they win the Stanley Cup, obviously he's in there, but those votes will be made before that even happens. So judging the regular season at this point, he's definitely a top 3 candidate.
Okay, so now we approach a real interesting time for all hockey fans, not just Ranger fans. We try to be equal opportunity employers here for other teams, and that is the trading deadline. Somebody yesterday sent in on our Instagram page that there is too much smoke and fire around the JT Miller talk. There has to be something going on for the amount of coverage it's getting. JT Miller has been a Ranger in the past. So he's not a player that if he were to, and I say if, because he's not guaranteed he's coming here. If he were to come here, we are somewhat familiar with, although he's a different player now, apparently, from what you look at. Would you be happy if the Rangers acquired JT Miller is part one of the question. And the second part is, what is the biggest positional need for this team to acquire?
I would be happy, but I'm also guarded with the move they make. As I've made public to you and many of my friends over the years, they're always a team that makes a move too late or too quick. If you look back again to Neil Smith in 1994, he makes all the right moves because you win the Stanley Cup. You're one goal away from all of those moves being wrong in people's opinion. So that's the problem I have with that. Now, JT Miller's a different player than when he left New York. I did say publicly, and I'll say it again, they should have never traded JT Miller. We knew this was coming. He had that spark. Has he changed and grown up a little bit? Probably. However, I will say it's the piece that you give. You don't want to mess with team chemistry. Although people downplay it a lot, it's a big thing. And right now, they're playing well. The piece they're missing is a right winger. They're missing, Zibanejad has turned into a true 1A center, I call him. He's not the one everybody expects. They need a right winger with power that's going to go down the wing and score. And also a backup center in case one of the centers were to go down. He can fulfill both those positions, but be guarded in what you trade for him.
Okay. Are you, obviously, if you're surprised, you're pleasantly surprised, but how did you expect this sort of season to date from Igor Shesterkin? I mean, this has been, more than any of us could have asked for. How surprised are you at the year he's having?
And I'll make this public too. I didn't give him the credit he's due. He's turned into, to me, in my eyes, in the last 3 months, a Vezina Trophy candidate that's above and beyond a lot of others. And I've said to my friends who say to me, what am I nuts comparing him or not comparing him to Henrik Lundqvist yet, or all the great goalies, that have played in the NHL, Hall of Famers. He's far exceeded my expectations in the last 3 months, and he is the number one goalie. And that brings me back to the David Quinn comments of, we could never decide who the number one goalie was last year. So playing the three-headed monster game and all that stuff didn't help either in the last couple of years. So he has turned into the goaltender that we all saw and expected. And I will say I'm pleasantly surprised and pleasantly happy for it.
Are you with Shesterkin? I've said this on the show before, and I think we have someone just submitted a question. We're going to pull it up.
Yes.
I can't.
Brian asks, how will Igor perform in the playoffs?
Well, I think if we knew that answer, we would be rich. Well, let's take that question because it was sent in. So I'll throw that to Dennis, and I'll put it to you this way: are you obviously Rangers can make the playoffs. They should at this point. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed, but they should. I'd be disappointed if they didn't. He's obviously the number one goaltender, so he's going to be in net game one, barring anything crazy. How confident are you that he's able to sustain what he's done in the regular season under the playoff pressure? Would you be confident?
How will Igor perform in the playoffs? If you watched last night was a playoff game. A typical slow start for two teams that are feeling each other out. Boston's missing players. The Rangers are coming back from a 2-week break. It's a slow start. Not a lot of chances. Boston had one. It was a goal that really, they got lucky on basically. The rest of the game was a playoff game. Chances both ways, and he performed to the high level. I think he's ready. Is he ready for a long playoff run? That's if I was that psychic, I'd make a lot of money giving my answer. But I think he's ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'll put it to you that way. Can he win us 16 games? If they play proper position in front of him, like they've been taught to, and in some cases still have a hard time doing, I think he has enough to get us to the finish line.
Okay.
I don't know when. It could be next year. I'm not saying it's this year, but in the playoffs in general is the question. I think he's ready for the playoffs.
Okay. It is amazing how lucky Ranger fans have been. And this is what I was about to say before the question came in. And I've said this on the show a lot that, you had Richter and then you went through all these years, Dan Blackburn to Mike Dunham, the bridge to get to Lundqvist. This team is so lucky that Lundqvist retires. There's kind of this 1 year in between, and all of a sudden they have Shesterkin playing at this level. The Rangers are so incredibly lucky. All right. Last question for you. Dan Rosen, who we love on this show, senior writer for NHL.com, was on with us a lot and talked with us in the beginning of the season. And we said that the goal for this team in the rebuild is to make the playoffs. Maybe they can go in and win a round or two. I think now, knowing what we know in mid-February, the expectation is they should do that. But what now, knowing what you know, how far do you think this team is going to go come the spring?
Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. And would that be in your mind? Because I think it would for me, but I'm curious your opinion. If they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, sure, you'd be annoyed they lost. But isn't that pretty good considering where the path that they're on with this team? It was a good season.
Right now, where they're at, I'm happy with. If they make the playoffs, win the first round, lose in the second round on a tough series, I'm happy with it. The Eastern Conference is so loaded right now, you can't be upset if you're a Ranger fan. If they lose in the first round, yeah, I'd be upset. To call out management or be mad at the team about it, any Ranger fan that's like that, not a true Ranger fan, hasn't been through all the heck that we've gone through for the last 20 years. Again, and I'll say you're Richter to Lundqvist to Shesterkin comment. We've been lucky with goalies in the last 30 years, except for those couple of years that you mentioned, the Dunhams or the Cloutiers or the Blackburns. Keep going. Even Guy Hebert for a few months. But I'd be happy with anything past the second round. The tough second round, again, the Stanley Cup playoffs are so good. The teams are so loaded. And you still don't know. The loaded teams can still add more players to their team and load themselves up even more, which I'm sure is going to happen very quickly and very soon. And before the trading deadline, I feel.
And the thing about that is that the Metropolitan division that they're in is loaded. Dan Rosen and I were wrong on this one. We thought that this was a pretty weak division, and we couldn't be more wrong because the way it looks now, I mean, if you're going to probably be the 2 seed, if you could, that would be my guess. I mean, who knows, right? But Carolina's probably getting the 1. They have a bunch of games at hand. They still got to play. So if you're in the 2-3, you're either playing Pittsburgh or Washington, which is not easy. And if you get through that, you're probably getting Carolina the next round. And we saw the trouble the Rangers had with Carolina a couple weeks ago in Carolina. They played awful. So it's going to be a tough run. Well, Dennis, thank you for joining us. We do have a lot of Ranger hockey to talk about in the coming months because we're losing football. So come back and see us again, my man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. That was Dennis Jelcik. Do you like him?
Yeah, very good segment right there.
Very informative. It is good. We've done this before where we bring on other Ranger fans.
Yeah.
I love the Dan Rosens of the world. I love that stuff. But sometimes to hear other fans' opinions, that's what I think is missing.
Yeah, it's the heartbeats, the soul of the community.
The soul of Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
And hopefully we could get you to,
go to the game. Yeah.
Get into the game.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So Super Bowl was good. As a recap, you had a good time?
Super Bowl was good. I think the playoffs in general were a huge success. A lot of entertaining games, and I think we're all raring to go. We are coming to the dead part of the NFL, but I think we're going to have a lot of drama with Aaron Rodgers and coaches and hirings and free agency. So we'll have a couple of things to talk about here and there.
So I do see on the comments, and we're not going to pull it up because there's a bunch of comments, but someone wrote in about I had referenced that I missed the Ranger game last night because I had a game.
Yeah.
So I will mention it real quick because someone's trying to be funny by writing in questions about the game I had. Yes, we did win. Yes, we had a big game as a team.
Nice.
And we will advance to the playoffs next Monday late night, which means that Tuesday morning we may be a little tired on the show.
Wait, so you're a playoff contending hockey player?
No. I play in a league that has 5 teams. 3 of them make the playoffs. We got in as the 3rd team on the last day.
Answer my question. You're a playoff contending hockey player.
Yes. Okay. You got it. You know what? If you want to make it sound far better than it is, I'm nowhere near the truth. Yeah. I'm all for it.
So that autograph I have up front is worth a lot more than I originally thought.
If you come in, and I don't know why this is, and every week it's still there. When you walk into the Undefeated Media Studios, there are pictures of us.
Yeah.
And
you're part of the family. It's like my living room. It's part of the family.
It is.
You know what I mean? You got pictures of your family members. We got pictures of our clients and our successful playoff hockey players and autographs. Yeah, absolutely.
Successful playoff hockey players for the Ultimate Warriors may end next week. We'll see. Well, let's hope.
Maybe we'll send a camera crew over there.
Let's hope for you.
Get some game footage.
And I can see Dennis is still in the green room. We don't have him in, but there were questions sent in about my game last night, which I'm sure he probably had something to do with, and they were well written by Chris, who sent them in. But we'll leave it at that, and we'll say yes that there will be another playoff game next week. So. Nice. Anything else on your end, sir, before we call it a wrap?
Great guests, great segments. Love it.
We thank Paul Farrington from the Paul Farrington Show. We thank Dennis Jelsic as well. I'm sure Dennis will be back with us as the trade deadline approaches in the NHL in the coming weeks. There will be a lot to talk about
Absolutely.
going forward. We will go ahead. I see you want to say something.
Today's Wednesday.
Yes.
So
Oh,
are
it
you
is.
going to do what I think you're going to
It
do
is.
on a Wednesday?
We have to give a shout out. Yes. We have to give a shout out to one of our favorite local businesses. We normally tape the show here on Tuesdays.
Mhm.
We had a little bit of a different week this week. And TS Ma is literally, I've said this before, the greatest Chinese restaurant. Thank you. There it comes across the screen in Bergen County. They have a location in Montclair as well. We will be hitting up TS Ma for lunch after the show today.
Nice.
So we give Chris a shout out. Hopefully we'll see Chris when he's over there. He's usually not there when I'm there. I don't know if he like goes back and forth, but like
busy
our big man. And he's got a cool promotion going on. I saw last weekend, right? They had a
the cross promotion with the so a pizza place and they love the meatballs. So TS Ma has these specialty meatballs. And it's not like anything you ever thought about. It's not like anything you ever tasted. It tastes amazing. They did a collaboration video where they put these special meatballs on the pizza. And let me tell you, we got a behind the scenes taste. They are amazing.
I'll have to check them out. So check out TS Ma. And also, we're going to put up on the Instagram later today, again, a reminder, the MYPB promo code for all of your MYPB gear at the Bamboozle Project. And everything is fully in stock, so shipping is pretty quick. They got everything. Yeah, I mean, I have to say that it is rock star. You almost feel like you have Amazon Prime with these people, although you don't have to pay for Amazon Prime because they ship real quick. So we thank you for listening. We thank our guest as always. We will talk to you next week and have a great week. Thanks for listening, everybody.